Happy St. Patrick's Day, Aaron Go Bra, et cetera, et cetera. It's Friday. That's the important thing, right?
Right. Very true.
It's Friday. So where are we? Well, where we are is we are waiting to see if we get into the Senate budget, which drops Monday or Tuesday. So that's that's where Senator Palumbo, the prime sponsor of the bill, is talking to the Senate Ways and Means Committee to see if we're in. If we're not in, the last thing that I will do will be testifying at Senate Ways and Means to ask that you be considered as part of the project. The second thing I can tell you is that I did speak to the people from Waste Management yesterday, and their concern is free, as in who would pay for the program. Now, what was lost in this was the whole idea that, look, we're not asking for a whole new stream of money to pay for composting. We're just asking that the waste management of the school include composting, so that when you guys choose to walk your food 4 more steps, it goes into composting instead of the garbage. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So probably the last tactical thing that you guys are going to do is you're going to write emails and also a class letter to the Ways and Means Committee and to Senator Palumbo. Palumbo thanking him for his sponsorship. Senator Zeiger, thank you for hearing the bill. And to Ways and Means, please, please, God, keep us in the budget. And that's kind of where we're at. At sometime today, Mr. Dawson will get an email from me with the appropriate addresses and email addresses of said personnel and some draft language.
All right.
You guys were featured prominently in last night's TVW Gala as part of the civic education program, and you guys look great. You will see your class participation on TVW sometime probably after May. There's a lot of it takes Mr. Johnson, for every hour that you're with David Johnson and TVW, there's 3 to 4 hours behind the scenes in terms of editing, sound control, and other final work, because it is a live TV production that's recorded. And outside TV, what we do here is easy because I'm in a studio and we're connected through Google Hangouts and to your classroom. But when you're outside, there's all that other noise, especially inside. You saw how loud the hallways are inside the legislative buildings. Think about trying to run sound for broadcast on that. It's really difficult. On the House bill, there was a courtesy hearing last week on Friday, which I monitored. But since there was no space for testimony, we will send a note to Representative Colbert thanking her for her help. But it made no sense to spend a lot of time and energy on a hearing that had absolutely no future. And you guys should be treated seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
Amongst the things, while you were thinking about what to write, how many of you are doing any of this as part of a senior project or end of course work?
We don't have that.
Okay. Are any of you including this in college applications?
Most of it's happening pretty late for college apps, to be honest.
I expected as much. Yeah, you guys were already well done by the first of the year, and you've been waiting for. Have you guys been getting your financial aid awards and acceptances now? Are you still waiting?
Everyone's kind of starting that process. Yeah.
Is UW still way out there, not telling you what's going on?
It just started.
UW has initiated all of that.
Yeah,
so,
they're sending out all the letters like this week and next week.
and you can check online whether you got in or not.
Have you guys, this for the class, including that guy in the back of the room who's looking like he's trying to pay attention. Yeah. So have you guys all gotten acceptance letters? Show of hands of where you are. So have you been accepted? Hands?
To where?
Wherever. Okay, have you guys got financial aid packages where you're saying, oh gosh, I could go there?
Yeah.
Okay. Other colleges. Anyone going to a clown college?
ASU.
Funeral college? Embalming college? Barber college? Guess not. Okay. Anyone going into the Merchant Marine? Serious? Anyone going into the Armed Services after this?
Colby's going to the Coast Guard.
Oh, you can't see him.
That's okay. Congratulations, Colby.
Yeah.
Very noble. It's a very noble profession. Coast Guard does a lot of stuff that you don't want to think about, like when you fall off a salmon boat off the Columbia River. Those are the guys who have to fish you out. So remember that.
Have fun.
Everywhere he's going, unless he scores like Oahu, Coast Guard Station Oahu, he's going to be somewhere like Forks Cody's going to be, somewhere on the Great Lakes where he'll never go into the water except once. Anyhow, I wanted to. You guys are doing great. This is kind of what happens here. A lot of ideas get proposed to the legislature, and a lot of them, despite their merits, fade away. I just wanted you all to know that it's very important that you don't feel disappointed or disheartened. I want all of you who have an interest in government, public service, politics. This gave you a taste of what it's really going to be like in terms of having a really good idea and then watching people just kind of set it aside because they didn't understand it in 30 seconds. That's kind of the nature of the beast. I'll take questions and answers at this point.
So out of 10, what would you say the odds are of getting into that budget?
I would say it's well under 50%, 25%. Part of it is how the idea is the fiscal note is $30 million. And the trick is you have to get into the budget, the language that has to be used is within existing revenues. And then basically continue to go down this path. Now, the Department of Ecology has a food composting program that's usually used for K-8 schools. So it is possible to do this. Part of my job is circling back with appropriators and saying, do you want to go here? Now, about the revenue forecast, which was in the news, the state of Washington has about $530 million more dollars than they were expecting in revenue stream. And the amount of money they could spend in the 1917 to 1919 biennium, and the biennium runs from June 30, 17 to June 30, 2019. That 2-year period is $41.6 billion. So the political discussions on McCleary and education funding and composting all are going to revolve around whether or not there's enough money to do all this. The Senate Republicans and the House Republicans would argue, yes, there is. There's $500 million more. We have all this extra money. We can do these things. The Senate Democrats and the House Democrats are going to say the cost of running government is actually $2 billion more than last time, of which about $1.1 billion is new in compensation for state employees, and the rest is like mental health and other increased operational costs. And they would still say that the McCleary portion of K-12 financing is still a $1 billion question that hasn't been answered yet. So that's where they're going to be from about now until when I think they will get done, which is around the 4th of July, which is hashing all that out. I mean, you saw in the news the president's budget. The president wants to increase defense spending to $54 billion, and he's doing about $54 billion in cuts to domestic agencies. Those are within his discretion. There's stuff he can't really touch, like Social Security and Medicaid benefits for seniors and others. But there's a lot of stuff he can cut, and that's why you're seeing him cutting the State Department by a third, killing off Sesame Street and all the other things that presidents do. And keep in mind, presidents have been doing this for 100 years, and part of it is the scariness. I take the stuffed animal kitten and I say, if you don't fund this, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna make it go away. And people all say, no, don't touch our favorite, don't touch Elmo. Save funding for the arts and other stuff. And for Congress, they're going through the same process of figuring out what is most important versus what they can do. So the short answer is our last shot is getting into the budget. We'll know in about 72 hours if we're successful. And if we're not successful, you'll just fire me as your lobbyist and find someone else next time.
Right.
Next question.
So speaking of Donald Trump, what are your kind of opinions on, the new healthcare plan and kind of his new travel ban and stuff like that?
Well, what's funny, a lot of presidents run on rhetoric, they run on arguments, and there is obviously a feeling that there are immigrants in this country that don't need to be here, and that there are bad people coming into the country, and a substantial amount of the electorate bought off on that and voted for the president because of that. I think what's really funny, and I think you can insert any label here, whether it's immigrants or gay people or transgendered or anyone else, Jews, Catholics, and then there will be people that will react emotionally and candidly very negatively, except for that one friend of theirs that's transgendered, or that one friend of theirs whose family came up from Central America, and they're good people. All the others are horrible, but my buddy is good. And when you put on the entire Arab, African, other, and what I would call new country immigrants, not European, not Vietnamese, not from countries where we have 50 or 100 years of familiarity, but they're, whether it's Somali or Iraqi, they're like, oh my God, it's like they're not bad, they're new, but we've elected a president who is basically labeling a whole group of people as bad. And there's not a coherent defense yet by the population of this country that the Statue of Liberty says, give me, you're tired, you're poor, and so it's just a statue at a harbor now instead of a guiding principle of America. So you're beginning to see the court systems are certainly pushing back on this. The president this week, today, March 17th, 2017, in Great Britain, accused the British Secret Service of wiretapping Trump Tower.
Shocker.
Okay. The Secretary of State is in Beijing asking for Chinese government permission to proactively attack bases in North Korea. So we have a president who is going down paths that are inherently dangerous to you and I as citizens. Yeah, your reaction is about where I was this morning. I get up about 5 and I start the coffee, and I usually start with BBC World News, which is 1:31 on my Comcast. And then I'll skip over to Morning Joe and Fox and Friends to see what the dark side of the force is up to. And then I go back and at 7 o'clock I'll watch CBS This Morning. But they're all just barking at each other. They're not really talking.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of my Republican friends who are scared to death of the president, but by the same token, he's their guy and they're loyal to him. On the Democrat side, most of my Democrat friends basically sound like what happens when you try to bathe a cat without warning. There's no coherent defense about what's going on here. And one of the things that's very difficult about a lot of things that are going on in your neck of the woods, in your neighborhoods right now, is that raising the minimum wage sounds great, doing this sounds great, leave all these government programs are great, but they don't always fix. They don't always fix the immediate problem of getting people jobs and stuff. So I'd sit tight, y'all. Stay in college, and just hold on. We got 3 more years of this stuff to go through.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
take
you.
care. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Mr. Dawson.
You want to start over again? Yeah. I'll set a new list.
Yeah, we'll restart.
Okay. See you in about 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes. Gotcha.
Thank you.